1 2 1 2. Mic check. 1 2 1 2. Is that how you do it? You're supposed to hold the end, sort of.
Yeah.
Kind of a face. Slightly, kind of like pointing, like sort of like into your mouth. Kind of. You want that angle, right?
Yeah.
The rappers, right? That's how they do that.
Well, today I guess rappers are the only people who have mic discipline anymore. Any singer sings into it like this, as if they're on like some TV show, or they're like, and they don't know that if you do it like this, the sound goes over the mic and nothing happens. Yeah, the rappers know what to do.
Isn't it because everything that comes out of their mouth is AI generated now? Isn't that it doesn't matter where the mic is?
Yeah. Did you see Wicked, dude? On freaking Wicked, Ariana Grande, Cynthia Erivo, two of the biggest vocal talents today on a Broadway musical adaptation, have pitch correction all over that. Yeah.
Oh,
and it's like it's an FX TV show. It's like it's a regular TV show. I mean, they bend notes at points, and they're obviously singing very well, but that's just the aesthetic now, is to cover it all with pitch correction, so it sounds like a keyboard all the time.
And the witch has a bone in her nose, right? Isn't that the?
That's only interviews, but
theme. Oh,
yeah, yeah. In order to play it correctly, she became a witch doctor at home. If that's what you're saying.
Not correctly, authentically.
Yeah, authentically, thank you.
Damn, just like, what are we, a minute and a half into it? Just the racism just fucking up. It's just like, we've been waiting for, what is it, 2 weeks now to say things about black people, and whew, it feels good. Anyway, well, not much to talk about. I mean, I don't know, politics has been pretty quiet. Good Lord. Yeah, no, boy, let's say this. No, not let's say this. I'm going to say this. Which is, anyway, it's looking like this coming year might be the most interesting year in politics in a long, long time.
Yes.
Because you have now, and I'm kind of giddy about this. I'm so excited. And it's not even, I'm not even taking particular sides. I just love that there are fights. There are now massive conflicts. And these are fundamental. These are on fundamental issues within both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. And of course, the Republicans is what we're thinking about recently because of what's been going on in MAGA, largely led by Elon Musk and Vivek. But wow, it's beautiful to watch. So here's what you don't want in politics and economics, in life, in the dating market. What you don't want is a monopoly. It's never good. It's never good. That includes if there's a party monopoly, right? Or maybe, a duopoly, which is what we've had. But even within each party, you don't want there to be a monolith. It's not good for anybody except for maybe one of the factions. You want them fighting. You want them not fighting. You want them competing with each other. You want them in rivalry to gain our affection, to gain our patronage, meaning the people's, right? What you never want is for the elites of any kind to not have to compete for our affection, our attention, our votes, and our money. And so within both parties, through my lifetime, until recently, until Trump and Bernie, I suppose. Yeah, Trump and Bernie. Bernie actually did sort of start this. I'll give him credit for that. So since Bernie, in what was that, 2016? Was that, or I guess he ran? Well, I guess when Bernie started.
Well, he announced in 2015, like March of 2015. But
yeah, I'm thinking about the Bernie movement before. I don't know I can't remember how much. I mean, it came out of Wall Street.
Occupy Wall Street, yeah.
Occupy and all that, but yeah, I mean, 16. Like my son went to go see him at his high school, give a talk.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, he by the way, my son renounces that now, and he was a freshman in high school, so you can't blame him. I, by the way, declared myself when I was that age to be I said I'm a centrist. I'm a moderate centrist, and I said, isn't this great? And I said, this is word for word, and I said, I most identify with George Bush Sr. at the time, who was president, or maybe he was either vice or president at the time. Yeah, and I said I'm a centrist moderate because it just made sense to me, because I see people on the left who are weird and have weird things to say, and I see people on the right who are racist and bad.
Mhm.
And so I'm just going to be sensible and rational and split the middle, which is to say that, yes, it's true. I have been cured of my autism. I am the first patient to actually been cured of autism in their late adolescence. No, it's an autistic way of thinking. And, hopefully you grow out of that. So most children think autistically in that way. It's all binary, linear. There's no nuance. Subjective factors are discarded entirely. There's no explanation for things like love or why sex feels good or why that movie was good or and this is the theme actually in politics, in American politics, since the rise of Trump, and I would say the dissident movements of the left and right both are fucking infested with autists. Not all of them. I mean, there are people who have read a novel. There are people who have seen a foreign film. There are people who don't listen to Nickelback among them. But generally speaking, it is that black and white autistic kind of thinking that dominates both. And now the prime exemplar of this is, of course, none other than our ex-South African guest, because he came here as a guest worker and he wants to continue that, Mr. Elon Musk. But anyway, let me go back to the broader theme here, which is the most important thing. It's not what the issues are, or who's taking which side, or who's winning or who's losing. It's that they're fighting. And so now we get to have an actual conversation about such things as American imperialism, the Monroe Doctrine. Should we just go take the Panama Canal and go take Greenland and then annex half of Canada like we used to want to do all the time openly? And I love that they're speaking of this openly. I'm speaking of Donald Trump now, who has said things in the last 3 days, not stating that he wants those things. He wants a real, I guess, a new Pax Americana in the Western Hemisphere, Monroe Doctrine 2.0, perhaps, which to me, it's sort of like, my first thought is, wow, that's appalling and grotesque and will involve the slaughter of untold numbers of people, including possibly our children. But the second thought is, oh, good. We finally get to talk about this, like really talk about this, because the great thing about MAGA is that it has been the only source of intellectual conflict. This is why I was so interested, really fascinated with MAGA. And I watched Steve Bannon's show every single day for about 2 years there, maybe 3 years, because I saw them really taking on these big ideas. Now they took sides, of course, and they took sides, half the time I didn't like, but they were really talking through these things because they had to, because they were then in the minority. They were the opposition. They were the radicals. Radicals have to know their stuff. Otherwise, they just get dismissed immediately. And now we have a full-on civil war in MAGA over more than one issue. They haven't gone to war yet over war, but I predict that will happen quite soon. And we're going to lay that out. There's an incredible sort of just avalanche of evidence about the Trump administration being infested with the CIA. And I didn't fully get the extent of it. I still don't. But now there's just a lot of evidence that parts of MAGA and the Trump administration are being, on foreign policy, being directed by at least a faction within the CIA and or within the foreign policy establishment, whoever, who want to go back to good old 19th century Teddy Roosevelt kind of imperialism and just take countries and take regions and take assets and dominate the world once again. So the fact that we have this, and so MAGA has been erupting, not so much over that, but they've been erupting over, of course, Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk's proposal or sort of advocacy of the H-1B immigrant program, which allowed Elon into the country and probably Vivek's family into the country originally. Skilled, for those who don't know, it's a special carve out in the immigration law, which allows you to come in if you qualify as a skilled worker, almost always a tech worker. So a high skilled, highly educated worker, you can get in if you wouldn't qualify otherwise. And so this is why half of Silicon Valley is made up of Indians at the high levels, not the janitors. the CEOs. I mean, isn't that guy now Indian? Many of the top companies in the world are headed by Indians who live in America as guest workers, or at least came here as guest workers. Chamath Palihapitiya, is he? I mean, he might be one of them too. And these guys are geniuses, and these are probably the best, greatest business people of all in history, world history. We're talking about, and they've contributed enormous value to all of our lives, pretty much every second of every day. We're not even aware often of all of the benefits we gain from companies that were built by these guys. Now, I don't love every single part of it, of course. In fact, I hate parts of tech and Silicon Valley and all that, but look what we're doing right now. We get to have a news show seen by thousands and thousands of people for free. That's almost free. and do it instantly without a production staff because of them. And half of them are guest workers. Something like that. It's about half.
Okay. There's a lot of angles to it.
Why? No, because they're brown. But what? So imagine, just try this. No, just try this. Imagine they are all Swedish. Then you'd be into it. So now you understand it, right?
Again, I think it's valuable to be racist just like anybody else. But I think the core of this problem was that you were talking about the mental profile of people who are political, and you called them autists.
Bingo.
I think the bigger key is that these are people who would take time away from their family on the day after Christmas to argue about immigration policy and the nuances of that on twitter.com. Yeah.
So there's so many topics. There's an incredible subtopic that I've just started to get into, which is I asked the audience to do this because it's something I did brush off entirely like just a few months ago, but now so a couple of years ago, I think in California, there was this crazy bill in the legislature to outlaw discrimination based on caste, which came from the Dalit people who live in California, and Dalits are the untouchables. And they were trying to get this bill passed because they were saying we're experiencing discrimination by the Brahmins, by the upper caste Indians who live in California. And most of them were tech giants, by the way. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if, Chamath or whoever was implicated in that. He's actually Sri Lankan, but whatever. Actually, I don't think, by the way, I think Chamath is a good guy. I don't want to say anything disparaging about him because he might get me killed. They have that kind of power now.
Well, Palantir.
And so I thought, yeah, exactly. Well, actually, no, I'm truly half joking here. Like if things, like right now, I'm sure he wouldn't have me killed, but if things went down, they do. Yeah. Palantir. So yeah. People. Yeah. So I thought at the time, this is so strange. I thought, oh, maybe like at some mom and pop grocery store at the 7-Eleven, like they're treating their Dalit employees poorly because of caste. So it turns out, and this, by the way, got defeated when a very wealthy Indian businessman in Boston paid Gavin Newsom to veto the bill because he said it's unnecessary because we already have laws against discrimination to cover this. So the bill didn't pass. I was like, that was such an odd little moment in political history. And I remember thinking to myself, should I pay attention to this? Should I care? It seems like so fringy and weird. It turns out, and like there's an article by Alexander Coburn from years ago before he died about, what is it called? Hindustan? There's an ideology sort of within Hindu culture. It's not part of the religion. I think it's part of Hindu culture, Indian culture, that embraces caste across the board, right? So which is deference to authority, knowing your place, not overstepping the bounds that were placed upon you at birth. They might allow for some meritocratic movement up and down the hierarchy, but a very clear, powerful hierarchy that will not be breached. This is what many people in India, of course, believe in. And by the way, it's not even that unusual, but in the world, including here in the United States. But this is what Vivek Ramaswamy was talking about. And people don't understand. He comes out of that. In his tweet, he wrote this incredibly, people have called it the most autistic tweet ever written, because he goes, and it's really funny. It's one of the funniest tweets ever. He just goes on this rant against American culture broadly. Not, by the way, not ghetto culture, not black culture, not brown. No, he's actually mostly talking about white people. He's talking about sort of white mainstream American culture, American pop culture. And he says, we Americans spend too much time watching TV, essentially, and listening to stupid music, and not enough time participating in math Olympiads and playing chess and all the things that he did when he was in high school. And it's an extended rant, and it is really funny because what he ends up doing is insulting who? Not liberal Democrats who live in San Francisco. Read that tweet. He's targeting the MAGA base. It's an attack on the American working class, the white working class, and their culture. And he basically says they're lazy and stupid because they choose to be. He makes clear that it's not genetic, it's not racializing them, but they've chosen this culture that is idiotic and has caused us to lose ground to the Chinese and the Indians, and it's why they're taking over the tech sector. Hey, but he goes straight after MAGA in this, elliptically, indirectly, and of course, there's been a beautiful torrent of hatred, I guess, against Vivek within MAGA since then. Steve Bannon has just been at his absolute best, even though I differ with him. I agree with Vivek on H-1B. I'm an open borders guy. I mean, I guess I would oppose it just in that I'm opposed to every law concerning immigration. I think there should be zero laws concerning immigration. But if I'm forced to, yeah, of course I would vote for that. I mean, also, why would we not want Vivek Ramaswamy and Chamath Palihapitiya running big tech companies? They've done a lot of good for people.
Do you know about...
Well, Vivek, I take that back. I take it back. Sorry.
Thank you.
That little Indian motherfucker. Anyway, so
I think he should be allowed to scam the elderly from home in India, like he's used to.
Yeah. No, but there, of course, are many, many, many Indian, South Asian tech CEOs who are doing truly amazing work.
Well, okay.
Not him, though.
Not him. And the guy who's running Google, like, isn't the founder of Google. Like, the people who built Google aren't whatever the Indian guy now. He's just the guy that took it over.
You think he's not competent, the CEO of Google?
I think he's competent at making it a multi-billion-dollar organization that, like, censors and funnels information poorly and creates the worst AI. I think he's basically pushing that company in a bad direction, built off of something that legacy Americans already built.
Yeah, I remember this. I remember this part of the book by Madison Grant on the passing of the Great Race. You know, the great the racist tract of the 1910s that led the way to full immigration restriction in the 1924 National Origins Act. He had a chapter on this in which he said the brown races of the world, which populate the South Asian continent, are suited to being good workers, but they possess none of the creative genius of the Scots and the English and the Germans. And so therefore, if they are allowed into this country, they should be limited to agricultural labor and menial labor in cities. They should never be allowed to ascend to the higher positions in the economy because they possess none of that creative, innovative spark that is unique, he said, among Northern Europeans. So, well done. But don't you think, is this true? Actually, now I'm thinking, can we think of a major tech company that was founded? Because I'm kind of connected and sort of adjacent to that world. I know a lot of people there, and I sort of follow it. And like, there's like this thing about founders, right? Founders is like their big thing.
I'm getting in founder mode, bro. I'm
You're either a
cold
founder
showers
or
and
you're
waking up
not.
at 4 a.m. Yeah,
exactly. You're either built to be a founder or you're not. And they think of that. It's not quite racialized, but I'm trying to, when I think about I'm trying to think of an has there been? There must, come on.
Okay.
Like a really original tech company, not one that's just derivative, but one that really broke new ground and created a new product, that kind of thing, that became successful. Can anyone come up with an Indian? Wow, I just made an argument against the
Yeah.
H1B. Thank you. And I'm no longer up in borders. Fuck that shit. No, this can't be right.
That's what they always say. It can't be right. Oh.
Crypto Smasher in the comments says Bose. Founded by an Indian? Founded? Is he a founder or not? Vivek was a founder of a fraudulent company.
Thank you.
According to you. I'm totally trusting you on that one.
It's a massive pump and dump. I'm surprised that MAGA didn't point it out until this recent thing. But yeah, it was what was it? Alzheimer's drug, some miracle Alzheimer's drug.
Oh wow. I'm gonna need that soon. Thanks, Vivek. Yeah.
He knew that the tests weren't good. He kept pumping it up on Jim Cramer's show, and he kept pumping it up in public. And then he sold all the shares and rug pulled and became a billionaire, and that's his story.
Wow. So news in, and by the way, so I have two Bose portable speakers right there that I adore and I've used every day for like the last 5 years. So founded by an Indian
who was born in the United States, though.
Oh, he said, "Oh, thanks, crypto."
Yeah, we didn't need some special H-1B visa for him.
Born in the U.S. though. Yeah. Okay, you racists. God, congratulate. The thing about racists is they keep winning.
They're right about everything.
That's the part I hate. God, that was bad. That was really bad. I'm definitely going down for that one. Okay, Bose. So I love my speakers because they were made by an American. It turns out. Great. Yeah. Okay, listen. Let's get back on track. I was going to say something, but I forgot what it was. Where were we going there?
I was saying the problem with the political mindset is that these people took time away from their Christmas vacations to argue about immigration policy.
So if you've hung out with South Asian immigrant kids in America, the children of the immigrants, the first or second generation, and 95, if they're, except for the ones from Southeast Asia, which is an interesting thing. It's not quite the same. That's where all the gangsters come from, is Southeast Asia, Philippines, Vietnam, Cambodia. Like I've known Cambodian strippers. I haven't known like a lot of Cambodian tech workers, but the rest of Asia and South Asia is just flooding us with high skilled tech workers. Anyway, so if you hung out with those kids, the kids of those immigrants, Tiger Mom, that whole thing, Amy Chu, who apparently like has renounced it, by the way, recently. I heard this. I don't know if it's true. She now regrets raising her children the way that she did. I haven't looked into this, so don't quote me, but I just heard that and I was shocked by it. But it's a heavy culture. I mean, it is heavy. I mean, and what they do with kids in Korea and China and Japan would horrify almost all Americans. Like it would freak you out to see what they do to their kids. And you see that culture, and this is interesting. And I have had a window into that culture for various reasons over the years. In San Francisco, LA, and New York City, there are the elite, the very upper class, put their kids in these schools that are, these high-powered, and San Francisco too, in these very high-powered schools, and those kids know, basically from birth, if they don't get into Harvard or Princeton, it's going to be a bummer for mom and dad. And their whole life is shaped around that. It's interesting. They don't even think about broader careers usually. They don't think, Johnny, I want you to follow me in my newspaper business or whatever it was. It's just they want to get them into that school. One of those top schools. I mean, these are people who are like enraged if their kid gets into Cornell instead of Princeton.
Yeah.
So they have tutors, they have special classes, they have summer camps, academic summer camps. They do fencing as their sport because that gets you into the Ivy League, because the Ivies are the only schools with fencing programs. Sailing is another one.
Yes.
Sailing and rowing.
And
yeah. And what's amazing is that now, of course, the American upper class has always sent their kids to elite private schools with the the express purpose of training them to be the leaders of the world. And, I've talked about this a lot with Franklin Roosevelt. and others. But there's been a new, really technocratic, you might call it neoliberal, ultra efficient, ultra competitive mode to that way of raising children in the American upper class. And amazingly, and I've heard this said by many of them, we're talking about WASPs. I'm talking about women named Sally who have 3 kids, and their husband is a merger and acquisitions guy on Wall Street. I've heard many of them say, well, who was their hero? I kind of named her already. They've said, who bought Amy Chua's books was white women in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and New York who are married to multimillionaires. They learned that culture of essentially enslaving your child to your own, ironically, sort of ego-driven vision of the perfect human from Asian immigrants. They've said it. I mean, because they get exposed to Asian immigrants because that's who's in their private schools. It's white kids and Asians. And these upper class white families have seen this and thought, oh, that's the way to go. we need to be tiger moms. So
yeah,
it's been imported. Now the good news is, as I said, it's only among these very small but very powerful enclaves of ultra wealthy people in about 3 cities.
I'm sorry, I'm just not following how that's relevant. How white moms copying the practices of immigrants is relevant
to what?
No,
to what we're talking about. Would you follow the fucking conversation?
I'm trying to.
No, I'm talking about the various ways in which the culture has been integrated into and infiltrating. And this is sort of dawned on me recently because of this whole conversation that we're having. This is what's so great about this.
Huh.
I'm talking about the H1B.
So they brought their
degenerate,
dehumanizing, bad parenting culture to the United States
they were almost all those Asian families started as H1B immigrants. The upper class, the ones who I'm talking about, they started either this generation or maybe 1 or 2 ago as H1Bs.
So we need to send them back so we can remember how to treat our children like human beings.
I'm trying to give MAGA its due here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to acknowledge some of the xenophobic, anti-Asian. I don't actually think MAGA is racist, by the way. I think it's the least racist movement in maybe American political history. But
totally.
Yes, I agree. But I've always said that. But I think it's at least xenophobic and dumb in some certain ways and paranoid. But no, they're right to a certain extent, because you see this at the very top of the American culture. You see that, and it's foreign, and it's not that I don't like. It's not that I dislike it because it's foreign. I dislike it because it seeks to enslave my child to my own ego fantasies. But
so I think
there's many reasons, in other words, to oppose Vivek, to oppose that form of immigration. Which, by the way, the other thing about H1B, which there's one reason maybe I would even oppose it, is that what ends up happening is you don't allow regular Indians in. You only allow the upper class, who are the Brahmin, who want to enslave the Dalit, who want to enslave ultimately tech workers, and maintain this massive, highly structured hierarchy or impose it on American society. And this is what I'm saying about the culture of Silicon Valley and Elon Musk and Vivek, they're all part of this. They want to impose that kind of hierarchical caste system on American culture. This is Steve Bannon's analysis, and I think he's right. So MAGA, I think, is correct in targeting that particular system within immigration, that particular mode of bringing in other people within immigration. It is corrupt, and it has what it's done is infiltrated the country with this culture, this ideology that is so harshly and grotesquely competitive and neoliberal that it does this, that it puts 5-year-olds in math camps when they'd rather be playing in a creek outside in the summer. I'm just okay. So does it make sense now?
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. I think, yeah. And I believe our children should have more opportunities in this country as well. And that, I think the broader thing is also they now have to compete at a global scale with the elites of the entire globe if we're importing the best and the brightest from the entire world over here. And I mean, that's gonna have to happen at some level, but I mean, I think American schools should be occupied by Americans. So I think this conversation, though, what's important about how this conversation played out is that Elon Musk didn't realize that he, is a guest to the Republican Party, is a guest to right-wing populist politics. That, he just got here 5 minutes ago and he thinks he can run the thing. And he thinks because he runs twitter.com that he can dominate the whole discourse and ban all the racist frogs who invented the same culture that he's trying to pretend to be the king of. And the real king of that culture shone through, an artist, the greatest artist to use the internet, Sam Hyde, released a 45-minute polemic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't see this? Oh,
no.
Man, it shut him up right away. Yeah.
Ooh, listen to Sam.
I've got some highlights of it.
Sam, return my email, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm inviting you to something very soon.
This is him talking about what it means to be a nation, for example.
There's this disturbing idea from the boomercon right that America is just a collection of ideas, and you bring everybody in the world, the teeming masses who are desperate for a half gallon of milk, you bring them here and all of a sudden they're hit like lightning with this idea that makes them able to make this country stronger. This country's never been weaker, and it's never been more open to foreigners who aren't us. These two things, they're not unrelated, they're directly related. Would Ben Shapiro say the same thing about Israel? Israel's just a collection of ideas. Would Vivek say the same thing about India? India is just a collection of ideas, really good ideas. That's why they're doing so good.
Well, so flesh that out. What's the argument?
The longer argument is about the dignity of human beings. I think the other clip I have is a little better, but we're trying to help America. And in another clip I have, he talks about what does winning mean. He says that, does winning mean that the value of Netflix goes up? Does the value of all these tech companies keep going up and up exponentially, and the average American owns nothing and has a bunch of AI slop to eat up while our tech overlords get rich?
Right. What does competing with China mean?
Yeah,
that's what I want. We always talk about we need to compete with China. Oh, do we? Tell me what that means. Right.
Yeah.
And what I've been saying for the last half hour is that what that has meant is Vivek Ramaswamy's vision. That that the elites have been attempting, and this is also Davos, by the way. This is also their vision too. The elites, the elite elites of this country, the people who really run stuff, they have been attempting to impose that culture on us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Elon Musk as well. Elon Musk, who has been a Democrat his entire life until 5 minutes ago. But, if you're working in government, you're working for the nation, and he believes that a nation isn't a GDP, a nation isn't an idea, a nation is a group of people with a common culture and history and borders. And anyways, he dominated the conversation.
No, I'm just thinking through this. This is just today is like, boy, there's so many like big new ideas to deal with. Hasn't been this intellectually fecund is the word we use in academia. I haven't seen an intellectually a moment as intellectually fecund as now in a long time. Sorry. Okay. I mean, there's a very, very old-fashioned argument about what America is or has been. The United States of America has been since its founding. That sets it apart from every other nation state in world history, right? Which is that, and this is the argument, which I'm mostly sympathetic to. I haven't found a reason to really disagree with this, but I'm sure Michael Weimer will tell me soon why I should think it's stupid and why I'm stupid. Is that the United States is the first and only propositional nation state in world history and remains so. Every other nation state, and by the way, nation states are only about 300 to 400 years old, by the way. You know, people forget this part. But there's been a lot. There's been several hundred, you know, over that period during the birth of the nation state in the world over the last half millennia, I guess, less than that, 400 years. Every other one has been based on what you and Sam Hyde are talking about, which we could call blood and soil. So either ethnicity, religion, partly, although actually Israel, Vatican, actually that's unusual. It's ethnicity or simply sort of geographical origin. Like, you know, the citizenship law in Saudi Arabia, believe it or not, is you can become a citizen if your parents were Saudis. That's it. They just want to keep people in the same place. But that's soil, right? Blood and soil. So ethnicity or soil, geographical location, origin. That's what grants you citizenship. That's what grants you identification with that particular nation state. All right. So, I mean, I think that's broadly correct, that argument. That's just a description. I'm not taking a side here, but that's what we're dealing with now. I just want you and everyone to be clear. I think, am I right? Am I posing the question accurately? Is that it's now you guys are sort of saying,
yes,
yeah, we'd rather, but I'm saying it sounded like
I disagree with them. I disagree with, and I believe Sam Hyde would also disagree with the proposition nation telling of our history. I believe that's the biggest flaw in American history understanding. I think it's the
okay. So right, he's also making, and this is where I don't get it. He's making an empirical, historical argument. He's saying that this is not what the United States has not been a propositional nation state. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe so. He doesn't get deeply into that, but I mean, he believes that a nation in and of itself is a people with a shared culture. And
so I think the root of the problem here is really common, and it's very annoying. And you see it everywhere from CNN all the way to the coolest, most badass hipster, dissident, right-wing comedian intellectuals like Sam Hyde, which is a conflation. You don't do this, but most people in politics, very unfortunately, think that, well, they just do a huge conflation, right? So in American culture, there have been many, many different people with different views on this very thing. The people who have been the elites, the ones who have run the government, the presidents, the senators, the corporate chieftains, they almost uniformly have believed in, sorry, my AirPods just bugged out. There we go. They have almost uniformly believed in an American empire, you know, American exceptionalism. We are the chosen nation. We are the savior nation. And we are because we are the nation that was endowed by the creator with these values, they think, of, you know, freedom of speech, civil rights, one man, one vote, rule of law, all these good liberal values, these propositions, right? Liberalism is a series of propositions. We should do this. We should do that. The world should be organized this way. It should be organized that way. The United States founded itself as a nation state based on those values. Now, that's just true, dude. Wait, hold up. The nation state, right? The state, the founding fathers, those guys, the ones who founded the state. I'm not talking about like troubadours in the town square in Philadelphia who were talking about the greatness of America during the Revolution, but never ran for office, never held political power. They just loved America and they talked about America. The poets, Walt Whitman, the ones who talked about America. That's an idea. That's a nation. Nations are all over the place. The Nation of Islam is a nation. It's a set of ideas about what the nation should be. This was the creation of a state. America had been around for a long time before 1776. So the ones who have been the founders and the leaders of the state of the state. And that includes sort of the much of academia, which cooperate with the state, much of the media, which cooperates with the state. That thing, the people who actually have run the state, the American state since 1776, 1789, they have had a pretty uniform culture, which has been propositional, which has been based on the Declaration of Independence and John Locke's ideas of liberalism and property rights and all that stuff, all the good classical liberal stuff. Yeah. And this is what I believe and have argued many times, that this is why they have run amok across the world, not because they wanted to rape and pillage, but because they wanted to grant those beautiful ideas to everyone. Now, we're talking about less than 1% of everyone who's ever been an American, though, right? The people who have led the state is way less than 1% of all people who have been Americans. Okay, right? So again, I think it's about who we're talking about here. Those who have not been engaged in any way in the maintenance of the state, I agree with Sam Hyde on. Yeah, it's been a teeming fucking lunatic mass of ethno-national, racial, religio, cultural, subcultural sects and factions and all sorts of little subpopulations with, and that's what's so beautiful to me about American culture. This is why it's so fascinating. This is why I was a professor of American studies. That became my chosen academic field, was American studies, the study of American culture, because of that, because it's been this ridiculous cacophony of all sorts of different identifications. Now, I'm still challenging you and Sam Hyde on this, though, because I think you're right that it has been not at all propositional below the top 1%. Hell no. But I don't think it's been I don't think it's been and this is what bothers me about a lot of people on the right, is like, why are you valorizing WASP culture, dude? You look at him, he's a fucking he's like a degenerate, a complete degenerate stand-up comedian. What do you think the WASP elites would have done with your ass back when they ran the place? I mean, it's so crazy to me why, and sometimes I think you fall into this, but like I certainly see it with people like Jack, Perfume Nationalist, the Red Scare girls especially do this. They're a bunch of bohemian hippie degenerates, right? They're gay, they smoke, they drink, they fuck, they fornicate, they do like everything. And they talk about like traditional family values and American values and the forefathers and the Puritans, and as if it's like that's what they're for. I need someone to explain that to me. It's so strange to me that the alt-right, the dissident right, claims to champion sort of Protestant old American values. Like, do you know what they would have put you in they wouldn't have killed you. Do you know what they would have done to the Red Scare girls in the 1950s?
Paid them for their services?
No, they'd be in an asylum, dude. No, they put women like that in asylums. Promiscuous women who had sex with more than their husband.
I think if you ask the Red Scare girls, they would agree that they do belong in an asylum. I think.
Well, then where are we? Okay, that's funny, but like, where are we then politically? I mean, then are we just performing shit? Okay, which is fine. I don't mind performing, but all right. So, okay, so now, however, so that's my third point. My fourth point is in your favor and Sam Hyde's favor, I think, which is that within the teeming masses, the cacophony of weirdo masses, that there has been a bulk, not a majority, but certainly a powerful plurality, which we normally call the middle class. And when we talk about middle class culture, that's who we're talking about. It's, the people in the middle, both geographically and in terms of class. Almost all white, although there's been a significant black middle class that has had exactly the same cultural values for a long time. And the immigrants have moved very quickly into that culture too, which is all about truly about family, truly about the work ethic, truly about service to country, truly about Christianity, or the Jewish version of Christianity known as Reform Judaism. or Zionism even. But so yeah, they have been there. I mean, that's who television show producers aimed their marketing at. They built their shows around, until recently. They built their shows around that demographic, the middle class. And when I say middle class, I really mean culture. It doesn't mean you can be a cashier at CVS and still be middle class culturally and in terms of values. You can also be a billionaire like Warren Buffett, second or third most wealthiest man in history, who lives in a ranch home in Omaha, Nebraska, and wears like he wears like old sweaters. He's very middle class in that way. So it's about modesty, purity, service, selflessness, very Christian, very, it's WASP values, WASP culture. And that's like, and I think those people, and I come out of that. Who do you think my parents are and were? And they're both families, both sides, even the Jews were basically that. Like the Jew in my family was a doctor, totally middle class in a Midwest small town. Bellflower, Illinois, Bloomington, Indiana, Bellflower, Illinois. So, those people, that middle class of America that has been politically dominant, was culturally dominant until the internet. That's what happened with the internet. That old culture in America that goes all the way back to the 19th century, what we always called middle class culture, often a synonym for being boring or nerdy or whatever, but like, that was dominant. That's what determined what was on TV and in the movies until about 2000, until the internet. Why is Sam Hyde extolling that culture when he is a drunken, fornicating, ungroomed guy who for a living makes jokes about penises? Like, I don't get it. What? So, sorry.
I think he's a pretty stoic guy. Once you get to know him, he's a pretty stoic guy. He does have some middle class values you might be surprised by.
Okay.
But
right. True. Right. Yeah. When you scratch a hippie, you often find a housewife. It's true. It's true.
I think the broader point is, the founders and the vast majority of this population always believed that this country would be a white Christian majority country forever. And that would be the common thread that held its people together. 15% black, 15% other.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's an assumption. We don't know for sure. I can't think of. There might be a few statements here and there by the founding fathers or Andrew Jackson or somebody.
If you look at like immigration quotas that were enacted, yeah.
Well, that's 100 years. That's 130 years later. I'm talking about the founding, the first like 30 years of the country. 40. You can even go 50 years. Well, I mean, the Irish were flooding in. The Germans were flooding in. Your people, my people. At that point. 1830s and 40s and 50s was just German and Irish just coming in like crazy. Gangs of New York. So there was discourse about it, of course, but it was mostly localized. And at that time, no one in the other states cared about it. But so I can't think of, speaking as a U.S. historian, I'm not pulling rank, but like I've just spent a lot of time reading their discourse, the rhetoric of the time, statements, but I'm sure there have been some, but I can't think of any statements by a president, a senator, a congressperson during the first 30 or 40 years of the United States of America predicting or assuming that the country would be predominantly WASP henceforward. I don't know. But now, wait, I'm not saying you're wrong. Let me say it's solid argument. I mean, I completely would believe it, though. It's very credible to think that implicitly they assumed it, right?
Well, because if you look at how they define citizenship as like free white man, like
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, And they looked around and they saw a bunch of Indians and they saw a bunch of slaves and some free blacks and they saw now some Irish and Germans, but still the joint was run.
If America is a proposition, why not just convince the Indians instead of conquering them?
No, I'm saying that the ruling class was at that time thoroughly WASP male. Like it was, no one ran anything until the 30s and 40s when the Irish took over the fire departments. That was a funny story in New York City, but anyway. It was all WASP dominated ruling class from 1790 to 1830 for sure. There was no one who didn't have a name like Gordon, running things. It was a dude. And so it could have absolutely been an implicit assumption among them, sure, that it would remain this way forever. Why not? Because again, they hadn't seen the hordes of Irish and Germans coming in yet. The Irish especially freaked them out. That's when it began, the 30s, when the Irish started coming in numbers. The Irish acted like Negroes and they couldn't handle it. It's quite an amazing story. One of my favorite parts of renegade history. But anyway, so all right, so there we are. I think I've laid out the map, I hope. And therefore I would like for people and you to think about.
Well, I mean,
what do you, and I don't even have an answer. I'm just saying,
what the founders believed is one thing. I don't think.
What do you want?
We make an appeal to the founders even in that. I think, the subsequent tradition of what the culture of this country became is more evidence. Countries aren't formed overnight. The commonality of the culture is forged over centuries. For sure.
So tell me what the culture was that you want to preserve or bring back, that Sam Hyde is talking about. You know what I mean? Like, what is its origin? Where does it come from? Does it come from an ethnicity? The stuff that you guys like, was it created by a certain ethnicity or something else, or is it something else? You see what I'm saying?
I do think that it's reasonable to want to keep the population at those proportions of 70% white, 15% black, 15% other. That's sort of the construct of America and what it can be. Now, I am open to the idea that the white population has lost its Christianity, which is the most important part of the white population is their Christianity that they brought over, and that the Mexicans and the South Americans coming have a more faithful and more potent belief in Christianity and have more family values and have a better work ethic, and that the white population has forgotten their Protestant work ethic. I'm open to that. I think history might play that out like that.
You're sounding very propositional, dude.
I know.
You understand that, right? You just went right into my trap.
I know.
It's just a different proposition.
Yeah. But
I'm not fucking with you. I'm just saying I am fucking with you, but I'm not discounting what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's just I think you guys just want a different proposition. And also that's number one. And number two is you're an Afro-Cuban percussionist. What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, again, just because I appreciate art doesn't mean that I can't understand that conservatives should be in charge of things. Doesn't mean that...
Seriously, Michael. Wait, we haven't talked about this.
Yeah,
you're an Afro-Cuban percussionist. You love that shit so deeply.
Yeah,
it is a central part of your life.
Yeah,
bro. Why would you fuck with these people? I mean, why? That is not a threat to you? Ultimately, do you think when it comes down to it,
I would like Cuba to be occupied by Cubans?
So when MAGA takes over, and you know this is real possible given your state history.
Yeah.
When MAGA takes over the Indiana state legislature, see what I'm going with this?
And all the Hispanics get deported, and I'm unemployed.
Well, that too, but no, I was saying and I'm just getting more granular here.
Yeah.
No, there's a bill in the state legislature to defund every program at Indiana University that teaches foreign cultures, like everything you do in Indiana, right? And so we're not going to allow you, or not forget defunding. We'll not, because they can do this. It's a state university, state legislature controls it. We will not allow the teaching of any foreign culture at Indiana University, which, by the way, is not even a crazy idea within MAGA. I would say probably half of MAGA would be into that, at least. So this could actually happen, dude, within years. And you could be disemployed real quick. Not just that, shunned. There'll be some shaming too. because you know what comes with it. They got to tell you how bad Afro-Cuban culture is too. They got to tell you how stupid and bad it is. You're going to hear all about, and some of our friends will be saying shit about Afro-Cuban culture and Afro-Cuban music being shitty music, obviously compared to Beethoven. You know, that comes with it. And then they're going to defund you and you'll be disemployed and you'll have to move to Havana and become a communist. So now that's not a good outcome. Why would you want to say anything? Don't you have concerns?
Again, if I really cared this much about the music thing, I would have moved to New Orleans or Oakland, where these people actually are. I would have. I prefer there to not be shit on my streets, and I prefer my car not broken into more than I like my current employment prospects.
I just want to explain what I've been doing for the last hour.
Life is all about choices. It's all about all about weighing things. Yeah.
Boom. Life is all about choices.
I like my car not broken into more than I like some of my employment opportunities.
Life is all about choices. Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
And don't we all want more choices rather than fewer?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And remember what I started the show with was an extended lecture on what I call autistic politics, an autistic way of thinking, in which there's only two choices: bad, good, black, white, America, the rest of the world, the West, the East. Conquering the entire universe and putting my name on everything and making everything black and white. Literally, those are his logos. Has anybody noticed? The logos are all black and white. SpaceX, Tesla, X, all black and white logos. No one noticed that shit? This guy is deeply autistic, and sees the world in binary terms. This is a hallmark of autism. And I don't mean necessarily he has a medical condition. Again, I've said this many times. It's a way of thinking that is prevalent among certain portions of the elite, especially in Silicon Valley and tech, for obvious reasons. Who do we think works in tech? Autistic people like my father, who could just sit there and code all day long and be fine with it. You have to be on the spectrum in some way. Your personality has to be of that type to do that kind of work, to want to do that kind of work. Elon Musk is that person with ambition, with global megalomaniacal, not even global. What do you call universal? When Mars. This is what I'm talking about. There's only two choices, bad and good. So he's like, oh, there was a rape gang in Britain. Oh, well, kill everybody and sack the parliament. Like, what? I mean, that's it. There's no nuance. It's how children think. I keep wanting to. So what I've been doing for the last hour, I mean, this is in part, is that, but it's genuine, that I've been showing the nuance.
Yeah.
And so have you, by the way, the immense ambiguity of issues that I'm very, very passionate about and I have positions on, like immigration. I gave a whole rant against my own position because it is really complicated and nuanced. It doesn't mean there's the one's position is wrong on it, but like it is way more nuanced than I would just like. As we are entering into a phase, this also connects to the bigger political theme of tonight. We are now entering into a phase of fractiousness, of factions multiplying. MAGA is now split into two. God knows what happens when they start to find out what, seizing the Panama Canal in Greenland means, like when they find, we haven't gotten to this and we've got to the stuff with, oh my gosh. So that's connections with Israel. When they find out about MAGA, with Trump's and the elite MAGA's connections to Israel and devotion to Israel, I thought we were America first. When they find that out, and I mean the sort of the rank and file of MAGA, I bet there's some fighting going on in the rank and file among MAGA. I'd love to know about, if anybody knows about this, if anybody's like close to like MAGA sort of activist types, I wonder, because it's so obviously a contradiction. You cannot be pro-Israel in MAGA. It's just not, that's not possible. It makes no sense. And I've got to believe, that there's a significant number of MAGA people who hate that shit too. So as we're entering into an era of fraction, and the Democratic Party is what now? It is nothing but like a teeming pile of rubble, a smoking pile of rubble. I mean, with like the Bernie faction over here, the AOC faction next to that, and then, you know, the old guard Biden faction over here, the Obama thing over here, Clinton's. It's just a little, it's like a little collection of warlords fighting each other, hating each other for the most part. This is great. This is what I've been hoping for my entire political life, is for both political parties and both political movements, both political cultures, to be as fractured as possible. So as we are entering this fractious era in American politics, I want to, and this is what I've been doing tonight, want to invite people, not ask, invite people to think in as nuanced ways as possible, because you will need it. We will need higher IQs politically, I'm predicting, in the next year or two. It's going to get really interesting. And if you are truly interested in political ideas, this, I think we're on, I think we're on the verge, on the eve of some really interesting discussions, which we have not had for about 10 years. It's just been bad in many ways, and especially the last 5 years. I think with COVID, the narrowing of the discourse got, even among the dissidents, it just got really narrow and therefore very dumb ultimately and boring for me. Boy, I think we're entering into a really fascinating time. So that's all. I apologize for whatever I've been doing, but we got a half hour left. We got stuff to talk about, man. Middle East, holy smokes. And the whole grooming gang discourse thing and how they're connected. Well, Jesus.
I mean,
oh, Jesus.
The grooming gang thing, it was just Elon Musk trying to prove that he's still racist. And he's not. That's the problem, is that, like,
no,
Elon Musk is role playing as a racist to get the frog Twitter back on his side. That's all that's about. Is it's not, he doesn't really care about, he knows this is a pet issue for the far right for a long time, and he knows that he lost their favor with the H-1B discourse. Sam Hyde ate his lunch on his own platform on this one. And so for a couple days, he changed his profile to Kekius Maximus, as if it's 2015, as if he's some anon from 2015, and then stopped talking about H-1B visas and started talking about the grooming gangs in the UK, as if we as Americans should care at all about what happens in the United Kingdom. I think that's, if there's any proposition of the United States, is that we don't care about the United Kingdom. And then second of all, what was it? Oh yeah. Elon Musk, even though he bought the platform, cannot dominate discourse over the actual people and users of the platform still. So he's beholden to the people no matter what. And yeah, he's like a child who craves attention and craves approval. And Steve Bannon was right about that.
Bannon. So the autistic analysis of Elon Musk, I borrowed that. I elaborated on it from Steve Bannon. Steve did it about a week ago. It was one of the most scintillating pieces of political psychological analysis I've ever seen, was Steve Bannon taking down Elon Musk. Yeah. Oh man, and he's so right. I mean, he didn't go into it enough. Like, I tried to like sort of flesh out what Steve was getting at there. But it's important. Yeah. It's a mode of thinking that is a significant portion of our political thought that determines policy, you know, and who lives and who dies and whether we go to war and stuff. I mean, and let's get to that, but go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I just thought it was important to frame why we're talking about the grooming gangs. We're talking about the grooming gangs because Elon's talking about the grooming gangs. Elon is talking about the grooming gangs because he's trying to take attention off of himself and the H-1B visas that he was wrong about.
No.
Okay.
I don't believe that at all. First of all, generally speaking, I don't like, and I just think it's incorrect, usually to assume people don't believe what they are saying, or that they have there's some other entirely different motive for what they're saying. Now, do I think that Elon Musk deep in his heart cares about the working class girls of North England? No. But I do think he saw well, I tell you what happened, but go ahead.
Okay.
He found out. I'll tell you how he found out, most likely, by the way. But he found out about this grooming gang scandal, freaked out. And because now many millions of people around the world have had this moment where they found out about the grooming gang scandal. If they didn't live in England, you usually found out about it a year or 2 or 5 later. Yeah. He found out about it 10 years later. But okay, you find out about it. I can't blame him for not knowing all the news all the time. That's fine. But you find out about it. And for most people in the world who get horrified and appalled and want to kill every Pakistani in North England, which I'm not kidding, is many people, they have no power to do so at all. Zero. Elon Musk, on the other hand, can just send out a tweet or 2 or 5 or 10 or whatever it's been now that will set the world on fire on this issue. And probably Jess Phillips and possibly Keir Starmer and probably Ed Davey, and probably several other Labour Party politicians in the UK. I would not be surprised if at least one of them is dead by the end of this year. 2 MPs have been killed in the last 5 to 10 years in the UK. And Jess Phillips is one of the MPs. She's the main MP that Elon targeted, falsely accusing her of what, and he put it, what did he say? Complying with or being complicit with a genocidal rape gang. It's like, and Jess Phillips is like the AOC of England. I'm not a fan. I mean, she's quite annoying in all sorts of ways. This is not in any way, shape, or form what she did. And saying, I mean, can you imagine? So the Metropolitan Police of London have had to devote a significant portion of their force to protecting Jess Phillips and her children and her husband. Of course, like, she's been surrounded by death threats of every kind. And again, this is a politician, and one I don't even particularly have any fondness for, but like, he has that kind of power, and it was based on profound ignorance of the issue. So that's one thing, but that's autistic thinking, guys. Black and white, good, bad. There's this evil thing that happened. Oh, go crush it now. It's the devil. There's no discussion to be had. There's all sorts of nuance to the Rotherham and Rochdale and Telford and Oxfordshire, amazingly, gang rape or grooming scandal, whatever you want to call it. We can get into that, but I was quite terrified that an autistic megalomaniac can have someone killed, basically, now, like, in that way. And he has that power. I mean, there are more than enough people out there who are that crazy to do whatever Elon Musk says, especially if they find out that they were helping pedophiles or whatever their particular fetish is. And gosh, the number of Tommy Robinson's supporters in England who have been convicted of raping children and possessing child pornography is now in the double digits, I believe. Every time you look at one of these anti-grooming crusaders and one of these people who wants to kill pedophiles, check their hard drive. But anyway, Tommy Robinson is the outright racist, anti-Islamic, anti-Arab, anti-brown people, anti-Asian. I mean, he really is. I'm not, me, I'm very skeptical of claims of racism. He just is, which is fine. I don't give a shit. His whole thing is, for a decade or 2, has been running around England saying that all Asians are inbred, terrorist, etc., uncivilized rapists, and pedophiles too, right? Of course, why not throw that in there too? And arguing for a complete ban on immigration, which, again, like, fine. That's a perfectly fine position if you think that people in the rest of the world are they're genetically incapable of being civilized around you. Fine. That's fine. And you want to have your country seal off the border. I'm against it, but I don't live there, so that's fine. That's not the problem. The problem is, and he's a soccer hooligan. He started his whole career as a professional soccer hooligan from Luton, and has beaten up people multiple times in the streets for all sorts of reasons. And he's in prison right now for accusing a 15-year-old Syrian boy of being, I think, part of the grooming gangs, which was completely disproven. This kid was utterly innocent. And then Tommy Robinson was by court ordered not to do this, to defame this kid. And he continued to do so. And now he's in prison for it. Okay, again, so what? Little British story about some racist dude who hates Asians. No, I don't give a shit. The problem is that Jordan Peterson and Elon Musk and Bill Ackman and Barry Weiss, see where this is going, have taken Tommy Robinson as their hero. Out of the blue, by the way, all of a sudden, just in the last week, 2 weeks, all of a sudden, this is a case from 10 years ago. Tommy Robinson has been in prison for a while now. And all of a sudden, all these people, Elon Musk, Jordan Peterson, Bill Ackman, Barry Weiss, and their little milieu have all of a sudden been talking about Tommy Robinson, this great martyr who's in prison for spilling the beans on the Muslim rapist gangs, which is not even true. He's in prison for something completely different. So yes, the Israel lobby and probably Mossad and probably portions of the prime minister's office and every Zionist organization in America has been promoting this story. That's why
they've been funding Tommy Robinson for a long time.
Well, that's where it started.
Yeah.
Tommy Robinson has been working for Zionist organizations since the beginning. And this is why he tweeted before he went into prison. What did he say? Palestinians in Gaza are inbred. I quoted him earlier. Inbred, what was it? Inbred terrorists, like just straight up racist. I mean, about the people in Gaza. Like it was dope, man. I've been looking for like some honest to God racism and I found it, but he's just dumb too. Like I love intelligent racists, but this is not one of them. He's a soccer hooligan. I lived in London for a year. And like, if you've been around those people, it's just not, I have nothing but contempt. and I'm a soccer fan and I'm a sports fan and I get that stuff, but those people are just not. These are the brown shirts of the world. You know, if they lived in China, they'd probably be working for Mao's Red Guard in the 1960s. You know, they're just the guys who want to fight and are authoritarian. That's it. And they're tribalistic. They're just ultra tribalistic and dumb. And they have no prospects outside of doing this kind of thing. He managed to be somewhat articulate enough to get into the media, and so he has a career out of it. But that's all this is. It's not. There's no deep intellectual stuff. I mean, it comes out of keeping Britain white, which again, fine. I have zero objection to that. Like none. That's your country. I don't live there. I only lived there for a while. And if you want it to be one color and live and only eat beans on toast, cool, dude. I will not want to visit your country probably because you'll be so fucking boring. Nor will the rest of the world. So you're going to lose the entire tourism industry. Fine. I just wondering, like, do you like rock and roll music? Because it comes from blacks. Anyway. So Jordan Peterson, Bill Ackman, Barry Weiss of all people. And this to me is the final nail in the coffin of Barry Weiss's credibility. And I have friends who don't just work for her, they anchor her shows. They're not, as far as I know, they're not saying this shit about Tommy Robinson, but they work for her, they anchor her shows. I'm sorry, I think you can't let this go anymore. They've been promoting Tommy Robinson and calling him a martyr for this when it has nothing to do with what's going on. So when you said Elon Musk did this, he called this out because of his wanting to deflect from the H-1B controversy. I mean, you weren't wrong, but I don't think. I think one, he was truly like personally appalled and disgusted, like most people who read the story were. It's fine before you know all the details. I get it. And even if you do know all the details, because clearly, I think it's pretty clear that there were at least some very obvious cases of straight up rape and many cases like sadistic torture kind of rape. So for sure, horrible things happen. But it's not, that's not what bothers them. They see it as this cover up of pedophiles. But anyway, they've been promoting this guy simply because, and it's incredible, but it's true, like the Zionist organizations have commanded it, orchestrated it. This is why it's an Israeli directed psyop.
Yeah,
That
Owen Benjamin figured this out 6 years ago, 7 years ago at this point. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He wanted to go to a Tommy Robinson rally, and he had a satirical song to the tune of Hallelujah called How They Jew Ya. And Tommy Robinson called him up on the phone and said, you can't do that. That's going to mess with things. And Owen Benjamin is like, really? I can't sing a comedic song about Jewish people at your rally? Why not? And yeah.
It's not Jews, it's Zionists. But anyway, dude, I'm serious. Like I think about this a lot. And my son, who's identified, he identifies as Jewish, and because he's 3/5 Jewish or whatever. Mother's Jewish. I think it's going to become a thing pretty soon, where as a custom, as a norm in the West, in America, when Jews introduce themselves as Jewish, when they identify themselves as Jewish to other people, to strangers, that it will become a custom, or maybe even a requirement to some extent, like a cultural, to say, I'm an anti-Zionist Jew or I'm a Zionist Jew, one or the other. It's coming to that because, by the way, have you noticed the Gaza war has not stopped, and they're killing children by the dozen every week. And it's about to intensify with Trump. And I'm really scared about what Trump's going to do there. I mean, I hope he's going to cut a deal. I've been predicting he'll cut a deal and end it. And I think that's most likely, but he has managed to fill his cabinet with, and this is following on what we were just talking about. And this is bringing it full circle in a lot of ways. He's filled it with Zionists. I mean, when I say that, I don't mean like most American politicians who are sort of reflexively pro-Israel, sure, and will always vote for the bill to fund Israel. I'm talking about people who are like ideologically committed, like Pete Hegseth, who's given speeches about how Israel represents the best of Western civilization and made it very clear that in his mind, Israel is actually more virtuous than America. I mean, Lindsey Graham, I could go on, all these people around Trump, his whole, what's his face? His NSC guy, Waltz, NSA, his national security advisor, all of them, everybody he's nominated or proposed for his cabinet is a straight up ideological, like what's his face? Pompeo. My God, Mike Pompeo is a bigger Zionist than Theodore Herzl. Like that guy he has talked about bombing, nuking Gaza. I mean, it's nuts. So their devotion to this foreign state, foreign ethno state that's not Christian. I mean, it'd be one thing if Christian conservative Republicans from the Deep South were devoted to a foreign Christian nation state. I would get that a lot, why they would want to support that country. I thought you were the ones who told me that they killed Jesus. But anyway, when MAGA finds out about this, and of course they've known, I suppose, but like when I just think most of MAGA hasn't confronted this issue. Like most Americans haven't dealt with the Middle East and Israel and Palestine at all until the last year. So I'm sure it's new. I think it's just going to be a little while. I am predicting right here and now that there will emerge within MAGA, within the Trump base, a committed anti-Zionist, anti-Israel faction that will maybe not take over the party. I don't think it would, or take over even MAGA, but will represent a real problem that, again, will create yet another huge civil war within MAGA. And I cannot wait for that. But I'm pretty sure that's going to happen soon. In fact, you kind of do see it already. Jake Shields and the Hodge twins, you see it within the Trump media world. These are people might be smirking, and these are not smart people, but the Hodge twins, I found out, and Jake Shield. Well, Hodge twins have like a giant podcast.
Yeah, they're funny.
Right?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
they've been on YouTube for like decades now at this point, and they're just funny guys. And then they
Right.
like pivoted to being conservative, kind of like Crowder did.
Yeah, they're now anti-Zionist, I think. I mean, Jake
Yeah,
Shields came on,
totally. Because
and
they're
anti-Semit-
independent. Because they're actually
Well, I mean,
independent. Yeah.
and because they're of that ilk, they're also anti-Semitic about it. Like, it's
Well,
like Jake
come
Shields.
on.
Jake Shields, dude.
Beggars can't be choosers, Thad. Do you want your anti-Zionists to be perfect? Like,
Oh,
to be like,
no. Oh yeah, no, totally. I'll take it. I'll take
yeah,
it. I'll take it. No,
yeah,
I'm not complaining. I'm not sending it back.
yeah.
I'm not.
Oh, I want Americans to wake up about this Israel thing, but I want them to be like,
No, I'm not complaining to the chef. I will
Okay,
eat this meal
alright.
happily. I will enjoy it too. I will enjoy this meal.
yeah,
It's not a perfect meal, but I will
Yeah.
totally, really enjoy it thoroughly. I'll even take my time with it. I'll savor
yeah.
it. So, but aren't they in the millions? Like or close to it, their audience, something like that. And Jake Shields has massive followers on Twitter. I mean, these are complete morons, who have know nothing about anything, but they happen to have, for whatever reason, well, Jake Shields, because he was a UFC fighter, they happen to have huge audiences. The Hodge twins, I guess, are funny.
Mhm.
Anyway, they're anti-Zionists. So it's there already, in a sense. What I'm predicting is kind of already happening, but I think you're going to see it within not just sort of the podcast apparatus around MAGA. And it is an apparatus. I mean, they do cooperate. It's all a thing. But I mean, within the office holders, I think that there will be some office holders, some people in the federal government who are MAGA, who are going to become anti-Zionist. I'm predicting this within a year.
Well, shoot,
and it's going to be so fun.
you want to talk about the Jeffrey Sachs clip?
Oh my God. And
Trump
there you
posted.
go. And then there's Donald Trump's dumbass, just tweeting random, you're not supposed to tweet Jeffrey Sachs, Donald. Did they not tell you this?
Well, Tucker has interviewed him several times.
And then there's Tucker. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then there's Tucker, who's anti-Zionist. That's right.
Yeah.
Of course. So massive portions of the MAGA movement have at least been exposed relentlessly to anti-Zionism. Candace Owens.
And the libertarians who allied themselves with Trump this time, Dave Smith.
And my boyfriend,
Yeah.
Nick Fuentes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nick, yeah.
I mean, does he have,
Well,
there MAGA?
The problem with Nick Fuentes is he's not a serious person at all. He had a chance to become one. I know.
I disagree.
Okay,
He's my favorite.
He's great. I mean, he's funny,
He's
but it's
awesome.
kind of played out at this point.
He's easily the
It's-
smartest MAGA intellectual. He and Bannon, I think, are the two best. No,
But
Fuentes is brilliant. Then the best racist. He's definitely the best racist.
yeah, but I think he's not. He's obviously a Fed, first of all.
No,
A Fed informant.
bullshit.
He's-
Why? No.
He's on video being at January 6th and being more insightful than a lot of people there, and he got off pretty much scot-free from that. If I know my history right about when he got his travel banned and when he got debanked, it seems like he turned on some people. I don't know the full history of this, but it seems pretty obvious he's turned.
I'm really troubled right
Yeah.
now. No, I want to tell you why
Yeah.
I'm troubled. I'm
Well,
troubled because I'm now realizing I have a crush on Nick Fuentes,
Yeah. And
which is on
yeah.
multiple levels troubling. But go ahead. He's not a Fed.
yeah, I think so at this point. And he's
With
been
all your
pro-Kamala.
evidence, and,
He's been pro Kamala. I mean, I don't need evidence. I don't
he wasn't
try to.
pro Kamala.
I mean, he's not
pro Kamala.
He's not a serious political. He's not being a steward of his political movements in a wise way. He's not being
Okay.
wise with his patronage at all.
Sure.
I think he does have the ear of the youth quite a bit, and he has, red pilled them on a lot of important things. But
I mean, man, I don't know.
Yeah.
So the anti-Semitism, I just think is dumb. I just think it's just sort of empirically wrong and dumb. I don't get morally offended by it at all. I just think it's a little dumb. We need to sharpen our analysis. It's not Jews. Again, it's There's the banker Jews, and I agree with them on this largely.
Well,
It is a conspiracy. There was a conspiracy of banker Jews, like no doubt.
what is it?
I've known.
Yeah. Owen Benjamin says there are 3 kinds of Jews. There are your war Jews, there are your sodomy Jews, and then there are your deli Jews. And
Hold
the
on.
deli Jews get the blame.
Wait,
Yeah.
stop. No.
Yeah.
Seriously, wait, no,
Yeah.
wait, what? You just sprung that on me. Hold on, because we've
Yeah.
talked about this.
Uh-huh.
Was it Yarvin? And I never got the source on this. People
Uh-huh.
have told me it was Yarvin who said, and I thought it was brilliant and correct. There's 3 kinds of Jews, but different categories than you just had.
Yeah.
And people have said this is Yarvin. Someone please back me. Look into this. I don't know, but if it's Curtis, God bless you, Curtis. There's 3 kinds of Jews: money Jews, book Jews, and sex Jews.
Interesting. Yeah, pretty much.
Which that nails it. That's it.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, but you know.
Oh, wait,
like,
what did Owen say? What's Owen's?
war Jews. So banker
Oh.
Jews. Yeah, war Jews.
This is some Henry Ford anti-Semitic shit. No, that's some stupid shit. Go ahead,
Okay.
keep going.
Sodomy Jews,
Yes.
Jews, and
Okay.
deli
Well,
Jews. And
that's
book
so
Jews
dumb.
is probably
That's so
better.
dumb.
But
You're no,
anyways,
that's complete.
but-
See, Owen doesn't. Curtis is Jewish, so he knows.
I know,
Owen is a WASP boy from upstate New York.
I know,
He doesn't
but
know shit about Jews.
all right, it's the same analysis, but war, sodomy, and deli is funnier than money, sex, and books.
Funny? I don't know. Do you know about the history of sex Jews?
Unfortunately,
There's also comedy Jews.
to my grand shame, unfortunately.
There's also entertainment Jews,
Yeah,
which is the
But-
only maybe possible fourth category.
yeah.
A huge category.
But anyways, in this analysis, and I bet Yarvin has the same
Mhm.
analysis, is that
Mhm.
you know the bankers and the people who start the wars and the people who distribute the pornography, they get good, decent, meaning people in a tussle, and your local dentist and your local working class deli owner gets the brunt of the sin of the upper echelon.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, we're good now.
who totally don't deserve it. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Then you motherfuckers stop saying the Jews when Israel does some shit. Please. That's all I ask. Just stop fucking when Israel or the Zionists do something. Just stop saying it's a Jewish thing or the Jews or you make some Jew joke or whatever. Like I love Jew jokes. Let's have more of them. But about like Jewish neuroticism, which is mostly what my Jews, that's their problem. It's not the love of Israel. Israel's its own shit, dude. Don't blame us for that. I'm serious. I know it sounds a little like, I don't know what it sounds like, but no, it's like kind of also a little bit serious because, as I said, killings go on over this issue. And if you get more and more attached to the killing of children, meaning you get more and more people affiliate you with the mass murder of children.
I only see that happening in either Muslim or, well, you know, people who have family in that region and leftist circles who are very anti-Zionist. I don't see your average American as caring that much about it. And I think your average American thinks pretty positively of their Jewish neighbors.
Yes, but I'd like for my son and me to go visit, Asia sometime. That'd be nice. No, I mean it. I'm serious. And do they not come here to kill us occasionally when they get really mad at our imperialism? It's a real deal, dude. Like it's not. I'm not saying it's likely, but then again, they've been killing kids on an industrial scale for 16 months now, and there's no letting up. And every day this happens, more and more people hate Jews. When people like, I won't say your friends, keep identifying me and my son and my mother and my ex-wife and my ex-families with this fucking thing. It ain't us. Not even. Sorry.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Well, I don't know how to practically I don't know how to practically escalate popular support for getting rid of Israeli influence in our politics without there being a rising popular sentiment of anti-Semitism. I just don't see.
Which, I mostly blame on Israel, of course, because they're the ones who've been saying that we represent all Jews. I get it. But Jesus Christ, I know. But we can also ask for Americans to be discerning, which again, the theme of tonight's episode. I'm asking people to be discerning and nuanced. Not all Jews are Israel. Not all Jews even support. Most Jews have never been to Israel. Most Jews in America have never been to Israel. I've been around Jews my entire life. I'll say this 1,000 times. I can think of 3 times maybe in my whole life that they mentioned Israel. American Jews who are not the committed Zionists, but most American Jews never think about it. They don't give a fuck about Israel. And this is, it ain't our fault. It's not our fault. I promise you. This is what, and also most of the leading anti-Zionists are of course Jewish. Like the anti-Zionists have always been. So just don't conflate me and my people with those fucking savages. That's all.
Me and my people, says the fractionist. It says
anti-essentialist.
Postmodern.
Anti-essentialist.
Anti-essentialist.
All right, fuck you, Weimer.
Yeah.
You racist. That was such a racist critique of me. Like I can't even. And I know everybody could see that. Just God. Why are you so racist?
Why are you so nativist? Why does the
So what if I contradicted everything I just said?
Why does the actions of your ethnic homeland have anything to do with why does that have to...
Okay, I got emotional and sentimental. Okay, fine. The people, well, my son, I'm allowed to be sentimental about him.
Yeah.
And care about him. But I also, well, not my ex-wife, but well, I also care about I've always loved Jewish culture.
Yeah. I brought up the Sachs clip just because I think in that clip,
amazing.
Doesn't Sachs say in that clip that Netanyahu is
caused the Iraq war? No,
caused all these wars. Yeah.
No, why did Donald Trump post that?
I think all this information is widely available to people, and Jeffrey Sachs has the greatest credentials out of anybody.
But why did he post it? Yeah. No, but really, please, someone find this out. Why? What was that? So it's interesting. I'm pretty sure he posted it on Truth Social, but not on Twitter. I couldn't find it on his Twitter feed, so I think it was only on Truth Social.
Real ones go to Truth Social.
But so who runs Trump's Truth Social account? And are they different person than the person who runs his Twitter account? And maybe there was a little conflict between the two. But whatever. How everyone should go look at this. You'll see it on Twitter, so you can find it on Twitter. Just do Trump Sachs, Sachs. Jeffrey Sachs lays out, I think it's like 2 minutes, a minute and a half, like basically everything we think about foreign policy. Like boom, like it's just unreal. It's incredible. It's a montage too. Someone edited it to get in the most like trenchant, concise point. He takes down all of American foreign policy, and I would say the entire idea of an American empire in America in a minute and a half, and as well as anyone could do in that time. I mean, it's the most amazing. Like Code Pink would absolutely post this on their Twitter feed. Absolutely. The Gray Zone. I'm sure they love everything that Jeffrey Sachs, all of us, and Donald Trump posts this on Twitter, I think with no comment. He just posted on his Truth Social. I need to know what that is. I mean, come on. This is the incoming president.
Well,
who's posting like a straight up anti-imperialist, anti-war leading intellectual. Like, thank God he chose Jeffrey Sachs too. He didn't choose some dumb shit lefty,
He blames the deep state in that video.
Right. He goes
who has personally railroaded Trump, and he blames Netanyahu personally. He really goes hard after Netanyahu. And I think Trump is trying to communicate that Trump answers to no one.
Well, but more to the point, maybe. I mean, if you're Netanyahu, I'm sure Netanyahu knows about this, by the way. Don't you think Netanyahu knows about this? That Donald Trump just posted a video that trashes him for causing the Iraq war? That's what Sachs says. He says basically it started, the idea for the Iraq war, which is sort of true, probably true, started with Netanyahu. who gave famous speeches before Congress promoting, demanding that they go to war with Iraq. But
And yeah, the most loyal and important ground troops are on Truth Social also.
No, but
yeah.
Yes, correct. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. MAGA, every MAGA person knows about Netanyahu now.
Yeah.
As the creator of the Iraq war, which they don't like. They've always been, don't ever forget this, everybody. Donald Trump's political career and MAGA began in opposition to the Iraq war. They've never changed on this, always been against the Iraq war, which is the best thing about them. But they've been completely consistent on that. So now they've all been told by the man himself that Israel started it. And so tell me again that there's not going to be a civil war in MAGA over Israel real soon.
Yeah.
Did not Trump just start it? And also, doesn't this mean that Netanyahu's days are numbered? To me, and if I were Netanyahu and I saw that, I mean, wouldn't you be like existentially anxious?
Oh, you know what? This is the thing. Like, Trudeau is out, right? So if you look at the landscape now globally, pretty much everybody from the old liberal order is out. And like, there's some nominal populist like Maloney in Italy, and the AFD is in ascendance in Germany.
Every Western country, every Anglophone,
Yeah.
every Western country. Yep.
Yeah.
Australia, all of them. Yep.
But, Netanyahu is of the old pre-Trump order, and he's kind of one of the last holdouts here. And so his days might be numbered here in the new world order that Trump is forming, because globally, nobody's more popular than Trump. And globally, people are really optimistic for Trump after the unmitigated disaster foreign policy-wise that Biden has been. So I think the more red-pilled Trump is on foreign policy, the better it does for him globally, too.
I do wonder, I'm not going to make a prediction because I don't want to jinx it, but I do wonder whether Trump is in the middle of negotiations, or maybe even has completed negotiations, to remove Netanyahu from power and give him some kind of golden parachute. I don't know what Trump could have given Netanyahu to make him accept this, since Netanyahu's the most political creature who's ever existed. But he is old. I mean, I don't know. What is he now? 70 something? And he's going to go to prison as soon as the war's over, or at least be deposed. I mean, that's the thing about Netanyahu. Like, he knows he's done as soon as the war's over. Because of Israeli domestic politics, they were trying to hang him basically before October 7th. I mean, there were biggest protests ever in the streets to get rid of him. Which also, by the way, is like, if you're a conspiracy theorist about October 7th, run with that shit. Like, I'm not saying that's what happened, but I would not discount it that Netanyahu at least knew about it in advance and didn't say anything or something. That he was in some way complicit with October 7th. I mean, that seems completely possible to me.
I'm not saying like 9/11, just like 9/11. At the very least, it's a gross negligent failure of their systems that he's responsible for.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
So what we can say for sure in both cases, October 7th and 9/11, for absolute sure, is that it served the interests of the ruling party at the time. That the Bush administration and the Netanyahu administration benefited more than anyone from those terrorist attacks. That is absolutely sure.
And if you told anybody before they happened that this kind of security breach would happen, you'd be called crazy. Like,
but that's all we need to know. We don't even, in a sense, we don't even need to know, right, who did it. We just need to know that they benefited from it more than anyone, and therefore these are not good things to happen. Right. So we got to go, huh?
Yeah. We're
now
running
the
super late now. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the cool thing is the first after show is happening.
Okay,
the newly renamed after show. It's the after show because it's the best after show on the internet. If you want to join us to hang out after Unreported every week, all you got to do, I think $5 a month or more, but a minimum of $5 a month, which is like ridiculously cheap. Become a patron, patreon.com/unregistered. Become a patron and come hang out. It's the thing we've been doing for 6 years now, and I love it. It's the highlight of my week. And we'll be hanging out on a Zoom meeting for about an hour and a half every Wednesday after Unreported. So come join us, everybody, and support this show, even if you don't want to come to the show, the after show. If you're watching this, you owe it to us. Okay. Michael needs funding to break out of his Afro-Cuban, the rut, the ghetto. They've enslaved him. That was racist. I'm sorry. But anyway, you know how it is. Thank you all for being here, for watching. Michael, thank you.
Just tell your friends. Just tell your friends in Oakland to return my shoes that they stole. I miss my shoes.
I mean, like, what? Black people steal? What is that shit? Like, God damn, man.
I had
goodbye.
Really nice white loafers. They were.
Do you think that's not rational?
On them
Do you think that's not rational? If they're nice loafers, that's irrational. Thank you.
I know, but some of us have jobs and like get paid money for. That's how we acquire things, is by buying them. Sort of.
Oh, like being honest and whatever.
Yes.
All right. All right. I just go enjoy your fucking clan meeting. Indiana. Okay.
All right.
How does the Afro-Cuban community embrace you? Or okay, good night.
I'm not.
Peace. Become a patron, everyone. That's the main thing I'm trying to say here.
I don't. Yeah.
Michael, I love you. You're the
Okay.
best.
Thanks. We're out.
Fucking beautiful. Okay, bye.
Bye.